Hello. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another show with Susan Lee. Susan Lee, hello. How are
Hi
you?
there. I'm good. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm alright.
Sounds
Yeah,
like a nearly not there. Sounds like a nearly not.
really not. No, I'm okay. I am.
Good.
Oh, I'm alright. Don't forget, guys. Got any questions or answers? Please put them in the right hand side. You know what to do by now. I'm not going to tell you. Anyway, so tonight, what we're going to talk about, Susan?
We're talking tonight about whether or not there are good reasons to stay friends with your ex. It can be quite a tough one to reconcile ourselves to because sometimes a relationship deteriorates, it becomes quite nasty, quite vindictive, things are said or done. But are there ways of working through that and perhaps finding good reasons to actually heal that maybe and become friends even if you can't be as close again? So we thought that might be a nice topic for tonight.
Good idea. Good idea. The trouble is, um, I am still friends with my ex. Well, most of my exes actually, except for one, because I believe life is short. You just get on with everybody, and that's it. And my ex looks after my father. Okay, I know, it's a strange story, strange setup. I know, but we are good friends. We get on together. There's nothing else in it. I'm married and she's single and well, she's got met a partner now. So and we get on totally okay. But there are some people who can't even get on with their ex, can they?
That's the truth. And actually, you've reminded me that when I'm a widow now, but when my husband was alive, his ex used to come round for dinner probably once a week. We used to entertain her. My husband used to take her home while I did the washing up and tidied round. So it there's we loved our partner once. And sometimes if we change, evolve, I mean, it depends what's gone on there. We might have met our partner, our ex-partner now, but we may have met our partner when we were much younger.
Mm,
Or various things have happened, evolved,
mm,
changed, our priorities have changed, or we've gradually realized we've grown apart. It doesn't have to be acrimonious and vindictive and negative. It can
mm,
sometimes be that we literally just look at each other and say, it's different, things have changed. I don't feel about you the same way. We need to split and call this a day.
yeah. Sorry about my hair, by the way. I've got a fan here and it's blowing my hair around. But there you go. Um, can I ask you a question? Because when you had your husband's ex partner come to the house, did you ever any time get jealous at all?
No, no, I never did. But then again, I suppose maybe if she'd been, I mean, my husband was older than me, so I think the dynamics were rather different. I was slim, ambitious, attractive. I'd met him in a fantastic club. So I guess my confidence level didn't need to feel concerned about his ex partner. But if she'd
Yeah.
been, I don't know, maybe a glamorous or dynamic or whatever person, maybe I would have felt rather differently. But as it was, no, I didn't. But I didn't think there was anything to be jealous for because he had pursued me and with enthusiasm, and he'd been divorced about 4 or 5 years when I met him, so there was no significant issues there to be concerned about.
Yeah, yeah. My ex wife comes in and she has tea with us. She brings my dad up and sees me. They're in Essex at the moment, in a, so and she we get on with her. Now Michelle, my wife, never used to get on with her. They, and they was bickering, arguing, and things like that. But now, because of everything, she gets on with her just, and it's only
Well, that's
just.
nice. That's nice. It makes life easier for you then, doesn't it? Perhaps, though you might not see her at all if the situation continued. But I guess it's also factors in why do we still see our ex? And for a lot of people, if there are children involved, then
Yeah.
that's a really big, important reason that we need to get on with our ex. Because yes, if it's just a social thing, yes, if we just happen to, I mean, in some situations we may have business connections still. There may be mutual friends, or we may have, like you have with your ex. There may be still a family connection where our ex is still involved. So it depends what the reasons are. But I think particularly if there are children involved, that is incredibly important. That one, the children don't see mum and dad tearing strips off each other. Two, the kids don't get hauled into this and involved and played against each other. And three, that it just makes life a lot more comfortable because mum and dad divorced each other. They didn't divorce the children. And so finding a good ground to stay civil, polite, respectful, where arrangements with the children are concerned, rather than using them as a battering ram for the ex, is important, and it helps their mental health and well-being too
Oh
for the
yeah, yeah.
children.
I've been through that as well with my ex, but my children and everything, and um, I think I too. I'm not saying it's just that. I think we did use the children for excuse. I did. I think we did, and um, and I think that was totally wrong.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I wanted access to see my children and everything. And because she was taking notice of her parents and everything, she didn't, So, but the trouble is, Lucy, sometimes it's so difficult to get on, with our exes, for some reason at all. They probably feel a bit of, hate, or you probably done something to them, that's caused them to kind of, not all exes get on with, we can't get
Sure.
on with all exes, can we?
No, and again, as you just quite rightly pointed out, if we're feeling vulnerable or if there are issues going on, then it's very tempting to lash out.
Yeah,
And if I mean, in many situations, you may have the mum who is the main, if there's children involved, the mum may be the main carer for those children. It may be that the ex, I mean, I've had situations with clients where the ex is seen as being still very wealthy, very capable of spending a lot of money on the children, buying them expensive gifts, technology, taking them on holiday, on fantastic trips. And the mum is, scrabbling around trying to feed them and find the lunch money and buy them a new pair of trainers and new sports kits. So it's hard then in those situations when you're feeling frazzled and frustrated and depressed perhaps, and the kids come home and they've got some fantastic gifts and all the rest of it, not to lash out and feel vengeful or resentful. So in those situations it's very difficult, and sometimes hopefully some of these matters can be resolved perhaps by relationship counseling or through mediation or through the legal channels. But again, it's messy doing it that way, and it's far better if everybody can behave as adults. And but it's not always possible to actually
mm,
resolve these matters and be as adult as possible, as balanced as possible as far as children are concerned.
yeah, yeah. I can get on with my one of my ex's mother-in-laws. I can get on with her. We're very close, but I can't get on with my ex-wife. you get, you
And
know?
sometimes there's an opportunity there to learn about ourselves. I mean, sometimes if we are trying to move on and trying to look at the remnants of our relationship, our divorce, and say, okay, what actually happened here? We did love each other once. Have we changed so fundamentally? What is about myself that I need to learn from? Because we don't want to be repeating patterns. perhaps into any next relationships we may have. So sometimes being good, finding good reasons to stay friends with our ex is part of the process of healing the divorce, learning about ourselves, and finding ways to move forward. What was it about me? Did I allow myself to act out, or was I jealous, or what other patterns in here from my childhood, from previous relationships that I need to stop repeating? And learning about ourselves can be part of the process of perhaps talking through, because often our ex knows us better than anybody. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's about allowing that to be part of the healing process, and rather than beating ourselves up and saying, I'm a failure, I'm rubbish, I'm this or that, maybe finding ways to work through that. And that may comprise of actually continuing to find ways to be friends with our ex, and heal that a little bit in a positive way.
yeah, yeah. Um, can I kind of like trouble you with some questions I've got through to one of
Sure.
the channels here? Um, Mark wants to know. Mark's having a problem at the moment. He said the trouble is I'm gone for custody, Steve, for my children. I could never get on with my ex, never. The trouble is I try to get on with her, but she's making things difficult. What can I do? I want to do it for the children. There you go.
I think in those situations we have to try really hard to let go of things that get a rise out of us. So, I don't know the situation, but it can be that sometimes our ex might say or do things, or look at us in a certain way, or make a snidey comment, or whatever. And sometimes we have to breathe in and try to pretend it's almost like a business negotiation.
Mm,
Breathe in and not allow ourselves to be triggered by comments, or that look, or that
mm,
snidey remark, or whatever, and just try and treat it as a matter of fact. Because often, because our ex knows us so well, they're really very, very good at knowing what the triggers are going to be, and
yeah,
knowing what the
yeah, yeah,
comments are going to be, knowing what the hot potato topics are going to be. So sometimes we need to actually try to back up and say, okay, I'm not going to allow myself to be riled, or you know, what's the word? Incentivized, or whatever. We're not going to allow ourselves to sort of bite the bullet, and just breathe in and try and just stay calm, and pretend that that is a person maybe that you don't know very well, or write your questions down, but wait for answers as well. That's another thing. If you have things that you're trying to do with your ex, maybe ask a question, and rather than responding straight away, or second guessing what that person's going to say to you, wait for the answers. And
yeah,
if she is, I presume it's a female, if she is going to be um, reactive and nasty and negative, just let her do that, and then wait. And then, I mean, for me, a big question often in those situations, in those negotiations, is say, and is there anything else? Or why would we do that? Or whatever.
yeah,
And if we keep going round and round and round, and a lot of couples do this in negotiations, keep going round, well, the only reason I said that is because you did this. Well, the only reason you did that is because of such a thing. We can keep going round and round, churning up
yeah,
old examples, repeating old conversations, time after time after time. One of you's got to stop doing that. And
yeah,
that might
yeah,
well be you, Mark, where you say, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna rise, I'm not gonna react, I'm just gonna sit and smile, or I'm just gonna keep my face as calm as possible. She wants to kick off. Let her do that. Even if it's driving you crazy and you really want to retaliate, there's no point, you're not getting anywhere. So
no, no,
if you can, try and just pretend and just go, shh, I'm backing right up here. I'm not
yeah,
saying anything. I'm not gonna give her the satisfaction of, you know, annoying me. I'm just going to take my time and just allow
mm,
myself to just continue in a calm way and say, okay, do you really want that for the kids? What's the
yeah,
best way forward for the children? And stay focused on what your end game is going to be. What result do you want from this? Stay clear about that, and try and keep this as
yeah,
a almost like an impartial business negotiation.
yeah. he's saying to me now. He's saying, "I, Susan, it's about my ex wife's partner. He's stopping me from seeing the children and everything. He doesn't want anything to do with He doesn't want anything to do with the children. Um,
He doesn't want anything. The new partner doesn't want anything to do with the children, or he doesn't want the actual biological
well,
father.
the ex the ex is saying to him, stay away because you're not seeing the children and everything.
Well, the biological parents are entitled to see the children, and if it comes to it, you might need to go to mediation or back to court again, because
Yeah,
unless there is a safety issue, there is no way on God's earth that the biological parents can be stopped from seeing, and it might
yeah,
seeing
yeah,
their parents. Now, it might be that you have to just bide your time, and I don't know how old the children are, but maybe try and keep contact with them through Zoom,
yeah,
online, emails, phone calls,
yeah,
FaceTiming, if that's the way forward. But the thing is, those children need to see their biological
yeah.
parents,
Of
if at
course,
all
yeah,
possible.
yeah. And
So
also, if I was you, I would kind of like get a notebook and write down every time you kind of like either she's causes trouble or.
mm,
And if I was you, I would stay away from all that. I would stay away because she could put she if she takes you to court, she could have you against that. She could use that against you.
yeah,
So write down on a notebook. Try going to relate. Try going to relate. That's good. They are really really good. And if that doesn't work, then the final thing I'm sorry to say is going to the court, and and hopefully you will get some sort of access, And it depends. It depends on what kind of access you might get. You might get supervised access, or you might get full access. I don't really know, but thank you anyway.
the
But
only problem with having to go down that route is it does cost money, but it and sometimes we can ill afford it at a time when we're having to buy, perhaps finance two homes instead of one,
yeah,
and all that kind of thing. It's tough, but unfortunately, keeping in contact with the children is should be a priority. And I'm surprised that your ex is going along with that. It's disappointing when our ex says, "Okay, I'm going to keep that trouble situation going," but whatever this new relationship is for her, it's a difficult one.
yeah, yeah. I've been through that. I know what it's like. Julie wants to know is this that my ex is. I'm getting fed up with my ex. My ex keeps on coming around all the time. I've invited him for dinner a few times and tea just for the kids so that we can all get together. I'm single. I'm not with anybody. But the trouble is, my ex wants me to come back to him, but he's been violent in the past. What can I do to tell him to go away?
Think you have to, I mean, you've set the parameters. If you know that he's been violent and you're still allowing him around, then maybe you need to renegotiate with yourself what that arrangement is going to be from now on. I appreciate it's easier probably to have him come to your house and have meals there and all the rest of it, but if he's not leaving, if he sort of almost looks like he's trying to settle down for an indefinite period of time, it might be that you need to perhaps do things away from the house. So
Mm,
maybe it's better to meet in the park, or take a picnic or
mm,
something, because it's easier to define the parameters and say, rightio, look, it's time now. Time to go. The children have got
yeah,
homework to do,
yeah,
or they've got to go to bed. Or if he is continuing to come to the house for whatever reason, maybe say, right, we've got 2 hours and then the children have got to go to bed, or we've got a couple of hours and then they've got homework to do, or something. So you
mm,
need to be firm in advance, and be very very clear what you're prepared to give to him. You can't just move in and come round for a meal and end up staying till midnight or whatever it might be. So
mm,
as I say, it could be that you move it away from home, and
mm,
still he still gets access to see the kids, but he's doing different things, and at the end of the day, then there's a clear end in sight, and you're defining the parameters of how long he has
mm.
and what's going on there with that. You got to be firm about that, really, and don't allow yourself to be swayed or be sort of, oh, go on then, it doesn't matter, it's another half an hour, because obviously he's going to keep pushing those
yeah,
boundaries if he gets away
yeah,
with it. Mm.
yeah. And also, if you don't want him into the house anymore, and if he's having problem, if he's kind of like staying there, I reckon what, as Susan said, kind of like meet in the park, or kind of like meet somewhere else which is on neutral ground, because
Mm.
you don't want him to kind of like um, keep staying there in your property if you don't want him there.
Mm.
And if you argue in the house, the children might kind of like listen and hear you. So that's another thing as well. What you gotta consider. So, and if he keeps on, get a court injunction against him.
Well, yeah, I mean, the problem with that is that if somebody's been violent, it can cause extra trouble. I think the phrase "start as you mean to go on," obviously that's gone a little bit past its time now, but you need to perhaps start as you mean to go on from today. And you need
Mm,
to start saying, look, I'm busy, I've got jobs to do, I've got work to do, you're going to have to
mm,
go at 9 o'clock because I've got some work to catch up on, or I've
mm,
got, I don't know, jobs to do in the house, or whatever it might be. And start being a little bit firmer, a lot clearer from the outset, so that
yeah,
he can't go, oh, I brought my slippers round effectively, and put my feet under the table. I'll watch television. No, no, I'm afraid you've got to leave now because I have things to do and the children have things to do, and that's okay. Great to see them, great to have a relationship, but now it's enough already,
yeah.
so it's time you left.
You're totally right. You got to be firm, ain't you? You got to be
Yeah.
firm and say,
Polite
tell
and firm, particularly with somebody who's been violent in the past. Polite and firm, but not giving in, and not
yeah,
allow that. And also, don't forget that something like 85-90% of communication is non-verbal. 85 to 90% of communication is non-verbal. So if you're going into fear mode or wary mode or apprehensive, he's going to pick up on that. So starters you mean to go on at the beginning of the visit. You're saying, right, we've got 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever it might be. And then, as that time approaches, you start saying, oh, look, it's 1:45 now. And, you've got 15 minutes left or whatever. Do you want to start saying goodbye now? Or whatever it might be, or yeah, we'll see you in a couple of weeks, or whatever. So you're keeping it light, you're not getting too heavy
yeah,
or
yeah,
bossy with him, but you're just keeping it firm as well.
yeah. It's so difficult with you guys. Is that all right? Thumbs up. Okay. What else we got? Um, oh right. Okay. Um, Rob wants to know um, if someone wants to kind of like. Oh no, no, that's not. Sorry, I'm just kind of like trying to get the question here. No, I'll leave that. Thank you. So, sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, but the trouble is, so see, when people are kind of like so kind of what can I say? They still like their partner or still love their partner. They're obsessed, say, right? They were still kind of like and they split it up. The person, they don't want the word no, do they? So they still go around the house. They're trying to get into the house. They were trying to get on with their partner. Now, when I was married, um, I was obsessed with my partner. Right? I don't hide anything away. And the trouble is, what I used to do, I used to stalk her, right? Because I was obsessed with her, right?
Yeah.
Now, I was not, sorry, I was not married to her. I was going out with her. And what it was, I was told by people, different people, that, oh, she's meeting other people and all this lot. So I was stalking her. I was looking around, trying to find out who was she with and all this lot. And the trouble is, when someone says to you about kind of like you've got to be so careful about your ex, and for me, how can I explain it? For me, it was really kind of like difficult because I was a jealous sort of person. Susan, do you understand what I'm trying to say?
I do, yeah, I
But
do.
I should have. One thing what I've learned was one, I should have stalked her. Two, I shouldn't look through the windows. That's what I used to do. It was really bad. And my wife, but fortunately, no, not unfortunately, but thank goodness, I'm married to her now. So I'm married to Michelle, and that's
Oh,
what I used to do. That's what I used
right.
to do to my wife. But the
Okay.
trouble is, I've learned from these things. See, so I kind of like thinking this was wrong, and I said to my wife, I said, look, this is what I used to do, darling. And they said, well, that's the past. No, this is the future, and that is nasty. And it does happen in relationships. When relationships break up, their partner will kind of like stalk them. They go around, find out if they've got a new boyfriend, new girlfriend. Say, it's totally wrong, though, isn't it? Do you believe?
Yeah, it's an unhealthy way to be, and I think that that's where sometimes if we can, we need to stop ourselves and say, okay, recognize what I'm doing, how I'm
Mm,
reacting. I'm in a bad way. I mean, we do grieve at the end of a relationship, and part of that grieving process can be going through all these phases of resentment and
mm,
frustration and disbelief and hope and negotiating. If I better, will it fix it
mm.
for me? And an end of a relationship is also a mini death in many ways. It's that
It's a
whole
shock, isn't
process.
it?
Absolutely. And sometimes, I mean, I've had clients who said to me, it would have been easier if my partner would have actually died. Sounds awful to say that, but at least it's finished and you don't see them perhaps going on with their lives and living a full and eventful life and going out and
Mm,
looking wonderful and all the rest of it. But I think sometimes if we recognize in ourselves that we're not coping very well, that we are behaving in unfortunate ways like stalking and following people around
mm.
and checking up on them and all that, this is where, if we can, we perhaps go and see our doctor, or we go and see a therapist, or we get some
Mm.
counseling of some kind, or we go and see a religious leader or whatever it is, and talk through what's going on with us, because there's an awful lot of stuff here that we need to work out for ourselves and understand and reconcile. And also it's where our ex, if they're aware of this, does need sometimes to be very sensitive. I think that's the thing.
Yeah, yeah.
If
Yeah, I just kind of like we split it up for about a couple of weeks. We ended it a couple of weeks, and it was grief. It was totally
Yeah,
grief. I
absolutely.
lost like the love of my life. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
to me, Michelle said to me that you got to get counselling,
yeah,
right? Got to get
absolutely.
before you can even think about coming back to me. She said, you got to get counselling. And
Yeah, because I think if somebody is so full on, then it's not a good basis for a relationship in most cases. That we don't want to be with somebody who can't breathe unless we're in the room together. We don't want somebody who is so, obsessive, if you like. And so sometimes having an equal partnership, or as equal as it can be, requires both people in the relationship to be adult, to be able to cope with negative stuff as well as the good stuff, to be able
mm,
to handle things in a positive adult way. And that's part of what a good balanced relationship with two consenting adults should
yeah,
be
yeah,
like.
yeah. But it's all about jealous. It was to me.
Yeah.
I know what it was. It was learning to accept people for, and just to, you know, it was so difficult for me. I was going through a bad time, and
Sure.
I find it difficult to accept people that they were really true about themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
yeah. Trust, yeah, believe, and sometimes if somebody says, no, I can't see you tonight because I'm going out with the girls, or I can't see you tonight because I've got work to do, not taking those remarks personally, not wondering, oh my goodness me, is there a secret agenda here? Are they doing something without me because
mm,
they're getting bored, or I'm not good enough? So those are things that we sometimes need to
mm,
understand and reconcile about ourselves, that
mm,
if somebody doesn't want to spend every minute with us, if somebody has got other things that they are interested in that we're not interested in, but they want to do anyway, or perhaps want to do without us, or they have friends at work who
yeah,
they get on really well with, or but they're not, they have a different relationship with them than they do with us. As an adult, we can't expect one person to satisfy every single need that we have in our lives. And sometimes being okay about that and appreciating that our partner might have friend, male or female friends. They might have work colleagues that they go out with occasionally. They might have sport interests that they do or hobbies that we're not interested in, but they pursue, and that's absolutely fine. That adds value to them, and it makes for a more healthy, rounded relationship. So it's not a bad
Thank you.
thing.
Thank you very much for tonight. Guys, thank you for watching. That was really, really interesting. At the end of the day, we all should we all should get on, even if it's our ex, even if it's our wife or whatever we are, our friends, whatever. As I keep saying, we live in the world at the moment which is uncertain. Another 4 weeks and everything that's going on. Who knows what's going to happen after that? And we all need to come together and and get on. And if we have a more peaceful world, we can't just it's not really a peaceful world, but if we can make it more a little bit more peaceful and friendly, I'm sure that we can go further than we ever been before. Not in our lives, but in your lives too. Anyway, Susan, thank you very much for joining me again.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you.